Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hustling Sideways podcast. I'm Alan Halas. I'm a music writer.
And I'm Jim Love, and I'm a keynote and motivational speaker. And we are
And
back for a
we are
bonus.
back. Yes, we are back in separate rooms, but we're back.
That's
This is the best Jim has looked on his webcam. So whatever is working, it's a cloudy day out. So maybe like
right.
you're only
Yeah.
allowed to record when it's
Yeah. I
cloudy out.
usually wear a tank top and jean shorts to these recordings, and I change that up to be more of a button down professional look because now we're on LinkedIn and we have to be more professional about the show. So we
It's
don't say
weird. They
things like,
actually, it's a
yeah,
rule. Yeah.
yeah, we don't say hell or damn or shit anymore. We have to be really, really, professional.
It's those LinkedIn terms of service. Like they got us. We signed up for premium somehow. We're paying like $100 a month for that.
That's right. That's right.
So anyway, we both have side hustles in addition to our regular 9 to 5 jobs, and that's what we talk about here. And when we don't have a guest, we talk about things that we've gone through with our side hustles as well. I came up with one for today, and Jim agreed that this is a pretty good one. And I think every
Mhm.
side hustler maybe doesn't even realize that they do it sometimes. But we're talking about times that you get in your own way, doing things that just are really not going to help your overall momentum, but you might not even realize it yet. So Jim, it's up to you if you want to go first, or if I've got a good one for this one. It's
Yeah,
up to you.
I'll start off. In the speaking world, right? Like, I have a lot of friends that do this. I just know people, follow people who do it. And a big mistake I made, and frankly have to combat still, is comparing my trajectory to their trajectory. Particularly with folks who do this full time. It's a very different world. I remember watching a friend who is a very close friend of mine who was getting gigs like left and right, and I wasn't. And I was like, "Am I doing something wrong? Like what is happening? This isn't supposed to be the case." And not only that, like he was doing like corporate stuff, and that's really not my jam, as you all have probably caught on to. So I found myself being like, I need to do more, and not that I didn't generally need to do more. I think you should always be growing, but like to a point where I was like, something's wrong. Like I have to change around something I'm doing, change around my message. And I remember just like competing almost with myself, like of this is where I need to be or what I need to be doing, and it just wasn't a help. And I realized pretty quickly that everyone's focuses on their own thing. They have their own niche, their own crowd. They put more hours into it because they can. And the people that I was comparing myself to quite literally do this for a living, and I don't. Like, let's just
Yeah.
be honest. That's not that's why we're here. So getting in my own way of that sense of sort of this like incorrect, like, oh gosh, if they're doing this, like I have to be there, and I just really realized, took me a little while to recognize I'm on my own path. Like it's let me keep doing my thing. I can learn from what they're doing. Certainly take away some tidbits of info or ideas. I do that all the time. Like I talk to podcasters too, or people that speak of like, oh, this is interesting where they went about this, but I'm never going to be like, oh, they're doing that and I suck. Like
Yeah.
it's more of a learning thing. So I found myself getting in my own way mentally. I would say more than anything in terms of like message or writing, anything like that. It was a mental block I had to kind of get over to not feel bad about like, oh, I'm not getting a certain gig or I'm not in a certain place. And it comes with time. And
Right.
that's the reality. I mean, I still wish I was doing this, all over the world. I'm not doing that yet. Like I know I have friends that are doing that, but that's where they're at. And where they're at is where they're at. And where I'm at is where I'm at. So you just
For
have to kind
sure.
of that way. Always want to get better, but not this constant comparison of someone who's on different wavelength. Like if I'm getting better than I was yesterday, that's all I can do, and
Yeah,
not
for sure.
someone else's trajectory. So that was pretty early on. I did that. I catch myself doing it now, and I can stop it. Whereas before, I was like in despair of this person's way better than I am because they're doing another gig or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Were you comparing yourself like to people that are way more established too, like that they're just older and just,
Totally.
they've been
They've been doing it
through the
for
ringer?
years. Right, right. I mean, it's like a single A baseball player comparing themselves to like Mike Trout. Like
Yeah.
you're not in the same place, and that's okay. You compare
Yeah.
yourself to what you're doing, the best members of your team, where you at, all those types of things. But that's really what I found early on. Within 2 years, I was like, oh, I need to be there. And it's like this guy's been doing this for 20 years. Like
Right.
I think he's going to be in a different weight class than you are, which is okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely thought you could like skip a step or,
Right.
that was gonna come faster kind of thing for sure.
Mhm.
Um, I have two now because at
Hmm.
first I only had one for this, but then I did think, hearing your instance of this, right? There was definitely a time where I compared Breaking and Entering to every media outlet in Milwaukee. Facebook used to have like you could do like a comparison of like Facebook followers and Instagram followers and all this stuff and see like, who has what. And there was a few outlets in particular that I would stare at and I would be like, how? How are they doing this? How do they have like three or four times the followers of me?
What's the
And the
sauce?
reality, it didn't really matter. Yeah, it honestly didn't matter. And now with the way that Facebook has gone and everything crashes in terms of like organic reach, really doesn't matter, right?
Oh, yeah.
Um, so like I don't know. I found myself like staring and getting obsessed with numbers kind of thing. But
Hmm.
the other one that I was gonna say is that I have found myself getting in my own way when it comes to like booking and pushing together events and things like that. And at first, I kind of thought, I can make this kind of happen on my own, right? Like there was a time where I think really early on, where I was booking shows and putting stuff together, and I was like, well, I can just run the sound for it. I've got a soundboard, or I can put out all the flyers for it, or I can, be the guy at the door if I have to be, kind of thing.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
had a real quick realization that one, something goes wrong at every show. That's just a given. Every event, no matter what it is, you can have everything go perfectly and
Boy.
still something. We had a show that went perfectly one time and soundboard started to catch on fire in the back. So like it like legitimately something goes wrong at every time and you just need hands to be there for that at any case. Um and two, like that only is good while you're, so young. Like I'm not saying I'm getting old, but like at the same token, like I don't have the same energy that I did to run around a venue and make sure, the guy at the door has enough wristbands for the band, or that the drink specials are out there for are on the bar or whatever. Or the advertising is where it's got to be. Like sometimes you need a little help, and I didn't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
that.
you got to ask
I
for it
found
too,
that one
right?
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I found that one out the hard way. Turns out you can work harder, and but working smarter is probably the way to go because,
It's- yeah.
yeah, you can outwork somebody to a certain extent, but then
The adage is
get
true.
exhausted.
I'm
Yeah.
with you. No, that's
Yeah.
it. That's a good realization. I think, as leaders, right, and what we do, like you got to ask for help. Like you have to really understand what your limitations are, and then surround yourself with people that can do that. And
Yeah.
that's your talent and values. So it's hard to do it, especially when you care about something. But it's even more important when you care.
Yeah.
So I'm
So
with.
I think all business owners need to, whatever your game is, whatever you're doing, like you have to realize that at some point you can get in your own way. It's very easy to do. Jim and I are two really good examples of that, but we've all also figured out ways around that and learned to kind of grow and adapt from that. But we want to know if there's ever been an instance that you felt like you're getting in your own way. And what did you do to kind of get out of that? Or maybe are you realizing that now? Maybe are you self-auditing while you're listening to this
Like, oh
podcast
no, I'm in my own
and go,
way.
and I do that too. I hope
Uh,
somebody else does. I hope
yeah, me
somebody
too.
learns from this, because about time we do. Um, but in the meantime, thank you guys so much for listening and watching and checking out this show. We got episode number 80 coming up next.
It's
And
coming,
Jim and I
man.
just booked this thing that we're going to
Yeah.
talk about
Just
it.
talked right beforehand. It's going to be a happy hour, so hope you're all ready for
Yes,
it.
I am certainly ready for it at this point.
Yes, it'll be
We've done
wonderful. But
we've done
that's
80
a big
episodes.
milestone. Excited to hit
Yeah.
that. Talk a lot about our guests and all sorts of things. But until then, this is a bonus, and we're excited to be here.
Yes. Yes. Until then, you can find us wherever you find your podcast. You can also find us on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We are on LinkedIn, like we said. Gotta look profesh. We are on Twitter, X, whatever they want to call it, Instagram, TikTok, not Snapchat, but all the other ones. Everything else. We're there. We're the Hustling Sideways podcast. If you do want to be a guest on the show, you can send us an email at hustlingsideways@gmail.com. And Jim,
What? I'm just kidding. Keep on hustling.
see you next week.
See ya.